So again, we're going to start from a passage that we looked at yesterday from man's higher consciousness, and we're going to connect this into what we're going to look at today, be looking at today. And
Yeah.
like I said, that once you begin to understand, focus on the energetic nature of reality, then an understanding of the universe, an understanding of yourself will begin to emerge. And all of the things that we have covered thus far, everything is going to come full circle. And like we've been doing, we'll just revisit those things and shed new light on them, for greater understanding. We had recently.
I just came in, Eitai. What is? I see a couple of pages of book on this. I just stepped in here. What's the name of this book?
It's Man's Higher Consciousness. We read from it yesterday. There is a PDF. That's what I was telling everyone, that a PDF is available. All you have to do is Google Man's Higher Consciousness. I don't know why I can't get that out. PDF, and it'll come up. It's available.
Toda.
Okay. You all will recall.
Eitai, before we go any further, Mario, I call you. You need to delete some of them. You can't receive no call. You are Eitai. No messages, brother. I know you don't never hardly answer your messages, but I just let you know that both of y'all are full.
Okay. I'll go in there and delete it today.
I'll start that now.
All right.
I appreciate it.
So done.
Now, see, one of the things that we had done early on, and I'll revisit this now, I had made a mistake here, was how we discovered the inefficiency of the solar system, the inefficiency of the solar system, and that the solar system and our dependence on the solar energy locked us into this repetitive, highly competitive, imperfect, inefficient, self-refueling, self-perpetuating cycle that features work or avad or worship as its highest expression and sole purpose, of existence. The enclosed solar system represents the garden in the biblical narrative. It represents the box. It represents the simulated matrix of reality. And we discovered that as far as energy is concerned, the plant absorbing the energy from the sun and only retaining what? 1% of the energy that it absorbs. The herbivore or the vegan or the vegetarian, etc., eating the plant, and of that 1% of energy that is retained in the plant, the herbivore only retains 1% of that. And so forth and so on with the carnivore that eats the herbivore, that eats the plant. And what we are seeing here is the law of diminishing returns as it relates to energy. Because in each case, almost all of the energy, units of energy, are lost as it relates.
Yeah, that's just like now, Eitai, when you calculate that like that, and then you turn around and cook the food,
Right.
then the steam, all the energy goes up with the steam, basically. You know?
That's correct. So what we discovered is that we were built not just to exist within this inefficient system, that there was another source, Nasi, called cosmic energy, right?
Yeah.
That was the true source. And
Right.
this notion was further confirmed by this recent research that these scientists claim that they are discovering human photosynthesis. And our ancestors have known this all along. They've known this all along, and we're going to see, we're going to provide further proof of this. So the solar system, family, the solar system exists only within a limited range of the full range of the energy spectrum. Are you all with me?
Yeah.
So it's that tiny little, and let me get to it, is this tiny little area in the gold here, ordinary matter, ordinary matter. This is the electromagnetic spectrum. Look, representing only 4% of the overall full spectrum of energy that is available. And we pointed out in previous classes, we pointed out yesterday that melanin allows you to what? Draw energy from not only just the solar power from the sun, but the full range, gamma rays, infrared, ultraviolet rays, and everything in between. And the retention, that is a more efficient system. And the retention of energy is far, far greater. It's not even comparable to the only 1% of energy that you retain in this limited cycle, repetitive cycle. So
Eitai, the question here, you use the word repetitive cycle. Would you say that within that cycle is the reason you understand, come and go, take on this physical and lose the physical and keep going, because you really don't never go, the energy never dies. So the body in a repetitive system of diminish and return, the body have to stay in that cycle of what? Life and death. Life and
correct.
death.
It has to diminish. It has to diminish.
Right.
And then you began to lose your your vitality and age, and eventually that leads to death. So
Right.
we've come to understand, and we've come into the knowledge of a far more efficient energy source that we simply refer to as cosmic, as cosmic. And cosmic refers to all of the energy that is outside this little 4% range. That is the full range of cosmic energy. And of course,
Right.
we know the source of cosmic energy and how it is manufactured. And that is through the process that is very similar to photosynthesis of the creation of black holes, and that process, how a star implodes upon itself and then exhales cosmic rays into the
Yeah.
atmosphere. And again, now see, eats other stars if they get close enough,
Right.
and then expel that cosmic energy, that cosmic matter, that cosmic dust back to the earth, where it's
Right.
available for us as again a much more powerful, much more efficient, much more effectual energy source. Now, we've already established it, correct? In previous studies. So we're going to revisit this. Bear with me here. I want to get to the one document. So we want to understand this. And we talked yesterday about this, how the simulated matrix was arranged, that it was vertically integrated, that put one thing above the other, correct?
Yeah.
And these two major elements, energetically, feminine and masculine, were switched. And in the vertical integration, they were taken from a horizontal relationship, meaning a side by side relationship, and the masculine was put over the feminine. And as a result, everything that is produced, everything that is created based on that perception will be what? Highly imbalanced.
Right.
So this affects us, family, all the way down to the genes. This perception affects everything within the so-called material or created world. And I'm talking about not just from the standpoint of the physical, Nasi, from the emotional, the energetic, that's all emotions are,
Right.
mental, every aspect of our perception follows that particular pattern. And when we talk about life being in the DNA, and the DNA, what? Being the at the very foundation of life production, we must understand about this aspect of transcription that the DNA does. We're going to revisit that. And I'm going to move, before we go there, back to this document, this book, Man's Higher Consciousness. Reads on this wise: breatharian indicates a plant or animal that neither eats nor drinks, and subsist entirely on the substance contained in the air. Now again, we have to move outside of this simulated matrix, which in essence is our reliance on solar energy, solely our sole reliance on solar energy. The Spanish moss hanging on the trees of Florida gets all its substance from the air and grows very fast. The big cactus plants on the dry, barren deserts of the southwestern part of the USA get their substance from the air, their roots serving as anchors to hold the plants in place and complete the life circuit. Now he's talking in terms, family, of a circuit, a life circuit. And a circuit has to do with something that conducts energy. Is that correct? Is that not correct?
Right.
Now the subject, magnetism. Because what we observe, this very slender portion of the overall picture here, this is what is called, this yellow part, or the gold part, is called the electromagnetic spectrum. All right? Electricity being the active or repulsive aspect of energy, and magnetism being the attractive aspect of energy. In music, now see, we call that the call and the response.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to get to this now. We're going to get to it. The gene, just to remind you, the DNA and the RNA have that call and response relationship as well. Do you all remember?
Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So here we go. Magnetism. In our work, The Nutritional Myth, we stated that no chemist can find in the ground. Now remember, the word ground refers to what? An electrical circuit, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You in order to complete a circuit of energy or pass a current of energy, you must have a ground.
Have to have a ground, right?
All right, here we go. No chemist can find in the ground in which in which grows a giant tree the ash, minerals, carbon, wood, and chlorophyll contained in the body of the tree and its leaves. Nor does a tree consume the soil in which it stands. Very important point here. If we're going to escape eventually this simulated matrix, we're going to have to.
Eitai, I don't mean to cut you off, but I need to know what's the name of that document you're reading from?
Again, this is Man's Higher Consciousness.
Okay, good. Okay.
I'm reading from page 8. And I'm going to read a little bit in page 9 too.
Okay.
Nor does a tree consume the soil in which it stands. If so, as evidence of such consumption, a depression should surround every tree. Now, when we relate this to the human body, let's say we have a field of greens, right? Well, about after a week, you can
Right.
notice that a lot of them greens have been gone, are missing. Why? Because humans are consuming them, and other animals are consuming, and or other animals, right? Insect.
Yeah.
Now watch this. A large tree weighs tons, and all the earth still surrounds it that was there when it was a small sprout, indicating there is absolutely no consumption. The roots appear to serve only as anchors to hold the tree in place and complete the electromagnetic circuit of life. So, family, if plants carry out photosynthesis to produce energy through chlorophyll, water, and oxygen, and sunlight, or I should say gas and sunlight, the same way with the human body relative to
Yeah.
melanin, water, an energy source, let's say sunlight, and gas, which is oxygen. If corn or wheat is planted in moist sawdust around a magnet or lodestone, growth is promoted without adding more elements. Very simple. No real relation appears to exist between the elements in the soil and the plant. Now, I want you all to look at the word soil. The word soil is going to be related, if not etymologically, man, I'm having trouble with my tongue. If not that way, and not that way grammatically. All right, they sound alike. Soil and soul. Soil and soul. We're going to make that connection later. Soil and soul. Examination shows that the plants contain elements which never exist in the soil. Listen, family, they are supplied by cosmic rays.
Wow.
Now you all remember when we asked the question, what does a God eat? What does the Creator eat? And it's those cosmic rays that an elevated being elevates what? Outside of the solar system and connects to an energy source that is far more vast and that undergoes a process relative to the conversion of energy that is far more efficient. So here they mention it. We've come full circle. It's supplied by cosmic rays. And I want to get that document that talks about that. Bear with me. And this is when we began to talk about that. And let me see if I can bring it up. It's not in that document. Boy, I thought I had this together. But anyway, I might get to it later. But rest assured, we talked about this when we went over that portion. What does a creator eat? All right. And it's these cosmic rays that are what? Expelled and shot back down to earth from this process of the interaction or the process that mirrors photosynthesis as it relates to a black hole. It is the general belief that crops consume the soil in which they grow. You know, again, compulsory educational system. Jean van Helmont did not believe it. In the 17th century, or Jean van Helmont, in the 17th century, he weighed the soil he put in a tub, then planted a tree in it. At the end of 4 years, the tree was 6 feet high and weighed many pounds, but the soil in the tub weighed the same. The growth of the tree resulted from the elements supplied by cosmic rays. By cosmic rays. There must be ground connections in the case of plants to complete the circuit. And we know as human beings, as we've elevated our consciousness, how important grounding is. You all know what I'm talking about. Getting in the grass, getting in the soil, taking your shoes off.
Right.
And walking around in it, rolling around in it, and supplying that ground, that ground. This is what the Bible talked about when it says, take off thy shoes, because the ground that you're standing on is what?
Holy ground.
That's how you become whole. That's
how you become whole, right?
That's right. All of these things now start to come into focus, family, because we're looking at things from an energetic perspective. So these elements are supplied by the cosmic rays. There must be ground connections in the case of plants to complete the life circuit. Ground connections are necessary to complete the circuit for electric instruments. Trees grow not in certain areas, nor grow well in what is termed poor soil. They improve if given proper fertilization. To make the circuit effective, the right minerals must be in the ground, and there must be moisture, water. It is not the tree that needs the minerals. They are required to supply the conditions necessary for proper electromagnetic action. You know more about motor car batteries. When the battery weakens and runs down, it is recharged. Look, melanin constantly recharges itself.
Yeah.
It does not recharge just from solar energy. It has the ability to absorb the full spectrum of the energy, the full range of the energetic spectrum. In other words, cosmic energy, the full range of cosmic energy. The recharging process does not infuse electricity into the battery. Why? Because energy cannot be created or destroyed.
Right.
First law of thermodynamics. It only changes the chemistry of the battery fluid. Once we find out how melanin works in our body, we'll know that it takes on different forms. The two basic forms, or the one basic form, is carbon, right? Within the material world.
Right.
And what? Other carbon-based elements. Carbon dioxide. What we exhale and give off after our energetic photosynthetic process is completed. Are you all with me?
Mm-hmm.
Listen to this. All hibernating animals are complete breatharians during the weeks of sleep in winter.
Right.
I'm getting ready to connect this up now, see. with what you introduced in terms of intermittent fasting. Now, I'm not connected,
Right.
but they are. I mean, this man and Hilton Holtzman. Well, once you understand that all of this information, everything that he's writing, is from the esoteric documents that our ancestors left us.
Right.
A fasting man who takes only water during his fast has simply added liquidarianism to breatharianism. Now, here we go. That is the path back to physical perfection.
Wow.
That is the path back to physical perfection. In our work, The Nutritional Myth, again, I would recommend that we get that book as well. We refer to cases of those who are reported to live without eating. Mrs. Martha Nash, who had eaten nothing for 7 years. Teresa Newman, a German mystic who had taken no food nor liquid for 40 years. The press of May 3rd, 1936, mentioned the cases of Srimati Giri Bali Deva of Patrasara in Bankura, India, the sister of Babu Lambadar Day, pleader, as a woman who had taken neither food nor water for 56 years. Listen, family. The account said she takes nothing, not even a drop of water. She is always gay and looks like a child. She does not pass stool. She does not pass stool nor urine and does her housework like any other woman. This woman was reported as being 68 years old, yet she looks like a child. This appears to be getting close to the law of perpetual youth and eternal physical existence. Now, don't that sound like another word for physical immortality?
That's exactly what it is. Eitai. Where are you reading that from?
Now, this is from the PDF version of Man's Higher Consciousness.
What page?
I'm reading from page 8 and 9.
Okay.
One physiologist states that of what man eats, the only parts that do and can enter his blood are the gaseous and fluidous elements. Now, again, those are, basic elements. Now, they're basic elements, the four and that are involved in photosynthesis, right? Water and air or gas.
Yeah.
All the rest is nothing but waste that passes through the bowels as feces, playing its part in overworking and weakening the stomach and bowels, with constipation afflicting practically the whole nation. There are very few folks who are free of stomach and bowel troubles hidden home, and the market. Yes.
Now you know you done hit home now, because
yes, sir.
That's exactly what's happening with the wife right now.
That's what I'm saying now, see?
Wow.
Yeah. Eitai, can you repeat that?
One physiologist states that of what man eats, the only parts that do and can enter his blood are the gaseous and fluidous elements. All the rest is nothing but waste that passes through the bowels as feces, playing its part in overworking and weakening the stomach and bowels, with constipation afflicting practically the whole nation. There are very few folks who are free from stomach and bowel troubles, and the markets are flooded with worthless and harmful remedies for these disorders. Now, we already addressed why those remedies are uh, are by and large worthless and harmful, because in their creating and formulating of these remedies, the test that they do is on non-melanated mice, white mice. Is that not correct?
Right.
They do
Right.
not include melanin in the process.
There you go, Eitai.
So therefore, they're tying you into something, whether it be food or medicine or vitamins, that you have to consume orally. So just wanted to connect that in, to present that again and connect that in, and to bring this thing home so that we can continue on and expand our knowledge and understanding as it relates to what? Activating this 12-strand DNA, thus activating, family, our ascension vehicle, and ascending out of this repetitive, imperfect, inefficient, self-refueling, self-perpetuating cycle that exists within the simulated matrix that is the solar system. All right, I'm going to pause here. I'm going to pause here real quick.
Let me give a little testimony about what you're saying about the wife. Family can understand.
1 second, Nasik. I want to pause here. I got to run away real quick for about 30 seconds. I got to go get something, then I'll be back.
No problem.
All right, hold it right there.
No.
All right, Nasik, continue on. Slikai.
Okay, family, I want to give a testimony, current testimony of exactly what the portion that Eitai just gave to us as a reality. The wife entered the hospital on Saturday, and immediately she was taken to the operating room, and they removed 50 centimeters of the lower colon. And the question becomes, what caused this block? Now it's clear, because this is so profound what we're talking about.
Yes,
and I know it sounds far removed from our reality, living in the simulated reality in terms of this eating thing. So they say it was just feces. So the question to the layperson and to the individual that's so-called conscious, the question was, what caused the feces to get blocked? Now what Eitai just explained to you what happens when you eat. That the nutrients that you're getting is only the gas, and everything else becomes waste. And over a period of time, it blocks up the colon, and that's exactly what had happened to her. And so when they removed it, they had to remove that 50 centimeters because the cells had died.
Right.
Because no life, no energy was coming into that area. Now, here's the key.
All you're doing is producing waste, basically.
Right, that's what you're doing, producing waste.
Go right ahead. You're right on it. Yes.
So I called this morning, and they say immediately, everybody say she looks like she used to look like a young girl. She don't look tired. She don't look aging. All of this is what's killing us, saints. Believe me. Now, when we talked this morning, they said that she was asleep. And I notice every time I call, she's asleep.
Right.
But the problem with this is what? The body is actually trying to readjust and reestablish the life cycle through the process of sleeping. Now, what happens is they are
hibernate.
Right, there you go. There you go. Now, the food that they're giving her is intravenous, and actually what's happening is making her nauseous and what? Sick, because she's been used to eating food. And no food coming in, the body is trying to readjust to a natural cycle as opposed to an inorganic artificial cycle that everybody's in. Final point, this making her what? Weak, without energy. The same thing that was occurring when she was what? Trying to what? Eat and what? Relieve herself.
That's right.
She found that the body had to what? Disrupt itself in order to try to what? Reestablish this life cycle. So that's when she became very nauseous because they got into the bloodstream. And then when she started to throw up, everything was black.
Right.
So again, the system that we're talking about, this body is perfect. Yeah. It's just that we have not had the perfect knowledge of how to sustain it and to perpetuate it.
That's correct. Absolutely correct.
So I'll hold right there. But this is very, very profound what we are getting.
Absolutely.
Continue on, Eitai.
All right. Does someone else have a point that they wanted to add? A comment? Okay. So getting back to the repetitive nature of all of this, that these types of bodies, Nasi, that require food are transcribed from one generation to the other. Are you all with me?
Yes.
Because the DNA, just like the melanin, is just going to record. It's not going to edit any information. It is just going to record experience, correct?
Yes.
It's going to record experience. And so we see, we want to talk about how do we control this now? How do we begin to get a hold on this? And we're going to repeat something that we've gone over before. This term epigenetics means control above or outside the gene. So family, if the gene is just repeating bad behavior relative to consumption and death, and consumption and death, continue to reproduce and just translate and copy that experience, we have to get control above that repetitive cycle. Am I making sense?
Yes, yes.
So we ask the question, what exactly is the control above or outside of the gene? And so, quite simply, it is our thoughts and our perception.
Absolutely.
It is our thought and our perception. And once we understand, Nasi, that this cycle, although it appears to be horizontal, you made this point, excellent point when we talked earlier, although it appears to be horizontal, it is actually vertical and hierarchical.
Absolutely right.
Now, replace the lion with the human. Or in some cases, you can put a human above the lion, right?
Right, right.
Because you know, it might be some humans out there somewhere on this planet or somewhere in history that actually had the nerve to eat a lion.
Oh yeah, all right, oh yeah, yeah.
But we as humans are taught, it's just making the point that we as humans, we're taught that we can eat anything,
Yeah.
that we are at the top of the food chain. Did I make that up or is that a fact?
All right.
So whether we eat the lion or we eat what the lion eats or we eat the plant that what the lion eats, hard to say, we are still oriented in a what? A hierarchical vertical orientation or arrangement.
Yes. Yeah.
And what has happened throughout the generations, let me correct this. What has happened, family, throughout the generations by way of transcription of this experience, of this knowledge, of this habit throughout generations, we have inherited consumption as a way of life within the simulated matrix of reality.
Yes, yes.
Does that make sense?
Okay. Makes a lot of
Yes.
sense.
So,
Eitai, can I say this?
absolutely, brother. Go right ahead.
You know, looking at what you had yesterday with the notes that you sent us, and in our ascension process, us, that is, those that are on the call right now, and there are others, of course, but you showed 3 processes that we must go through for in terms of our ascension, according to the note you gave.
Uh-huh.
It begins with ignorance,
Right.
and aspiration, and then illumination.
That's correct.
Okay, I would venture to say that we are in the process of aspiration because we are coming out of ignorance.
That's correct.
I haven't gone to and gotten to illuminati, to the being enlightened yet, but we're working on it. We cannot. But what we're learning right now, what you're teaching right now, we cannot get to the enlightenment aspect until we leave the consumption alone.
That's absolutely correct, Amaria. We have to come to grips with this.
Say again?
Yeah, we must come to grips with this. Go right ahead. I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah. So in order for us to move forward, to ascend, we've got to learn what to consume and what not to consume.
Correct.
If not, then we'll stay locked in the aspiration aspect.
Correct. Absolutely correct. And Amari, we had mentioned that that's where most people stop. That's where most people stop because they cannot perceive moving beyond a physical or material, moving outside of, beyond, above a physical existence. So this idea of epigenetics, this control above the gene, says that it's the study of heritable changes in gene function that do not involve changes in the DNA sequence. In other words, we don't need to mess with the gene. What we need to alter, like everyone is saying so far, is our thoughts and our perceptions. Correct?
Right, right, right.
That is the control above the gene. Perception refers to the way that you think about or understand someone or something. See, we saw ourselves as consumers, whether it's food, economically, right?
Right.
In every aspect, we see ourselves as the ability,
Right.
and that only keeps us, so we know economically, if you ain't nothing but a consumer, it puts you at the what? The lower echelon. It puts you above, below, beneath, never above, never on top. The ability to understand or notice something easily. The way that you notice or understand something using one of your senses. Well, we got to use all of our senses to get on top of this repetitive cycle that has been put in place. In a beginning, family, in a beginning, the Darwinian evolutionary model, circa 1859, taught each of us to perceive or understand that genes, DNA, inherited genetics, controlled an individual's behavior
Yeah.
and destiny through accident,
And definitely, right.
that is, random processes. I'm trying to let you all know that this just ain't science like that, that this is an energetic process that we do what? That we break down and categorize as science. Everything is interconnected. As above, so below. No matter how detailed you get, even down to the gene and the molecule, it is going to follow whatever energetic relationship or whatever energetic configuration has produced it, all the way down to the quark, to the quantum level. And we know, family, that that's true because these quantum materials, they respond and act based on how we perceive they should respond and act. Isn't that true? So
Yes.
the DNA process is just a process, family, of transcription. Whatever information is carried by DNA in the process of building life, our biological beings, it is just transcribing, unless the information changes, Nasi, it is going to
Uh-huh.
just going to repetitively transcribe or copy what information is available. The RNA is just going to repeat that, translate it.
That's all.
The amino acid,
That's all.
the amino acid chain is just going to form accordingly to create the protein. Gene expression begins with DNA and results in protein. For simplicity, we will describe gene expression as if it were a linear process. Yeah, we know it's either a vertical or horizontal process. Now, see,
Uh-huh.
all of that exists within what? The horizontal, the simulated false matrix that begins with DNA
Right.
and
Right.
ends with protein. In reality, however, gene expression is part of an enormous, incredibly complex system of feedback loops. We're going to show you that's a feedback loop, family. We just showed you a feedback loop. Consumption creates a feedback loop that affects biology,
Yeah.
and behavior. Unless something, and we know it's that our thoughts and our perception supersedes that process, it will continually manifest and copy the same thing over and over again. And if we stay locked into the solar system and that cycle, we understand that it's a law of diminishing returns, that we're going to what? Lose vitality, no matter what we eat. Lose vitality.
Yeah.
And then what? Die and then be reborn again to complete the cycle.
Yeah. 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 Wow. Eitai, you need to stop right there and let everybody digest that.
All right. We're gonna pause
that is so on the money.
We will pause here. All right. Let's look at a scriptural verse that talks about this controlling aspect of transcription into this feedback loop. In Exodus 20:5, it reads like this: For I, the Lord God, am a jealous God. Look, visiting the iniquities of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. Now, this is this transcription of the gene. That's all it's talking about, right?
Right.
This aspect, this controlling aspect or seeming control aspect of the DNA, and this transcription that is just going to what? Copy the information that is fed in.
That's so powerful.
The only way that you are going to circumvent this so-called iniquity that is being visited upon you, what? From your fathers, from those who came before you, is to change the information that goes into the loop. That's the only way.
Eitai, just a point for you and I to discuss, and that is the third and fourth generation of those that hate me. Okay? The third and fourth generation, this iniquity was to be visited. So we need to discuss this at another time. I just want to make a note of it, make you make a note of it. So we need to discuss that, okay?
No, because this is talking about the third and fourth dimensions, and the transition. We already talked about this now. See, third and fourth heaven, that we was in the teaching from a heaven. This is what this is talking about. This is talking about transitioning outside the fourth dimensional reality. We're gonna revisit this again, that's for sure. We will revisit.
See, that will tie into Ecclesiastic, So, but and again, we'll talk about it. Right?
No, we right on the same. We eye to eye on that. So
let's go for it.
It's control above the gene, family.
Yeah.
Control above the gene. It has to do with changing our perceptions, changing our thoughts, and then redirecting our thoughts from the solar to the cosmic. What must correspond is as we make that transition, and we understand it is not an easy transition. It is not. It's simple, but it's not an easy transition. Like Amaria alluded to, we got to, unlearn a lot of what we've learned.
Yes, sir.
We cannot really, it's very hard if we are, honest, to imagine, going a week without food, some of us, let alone 7 years straight, like some of these people. Again, it's transitional. And just,
It's transition.
but
Right.
we have all of the elements relative to knowledge. Nasik has introduced us now to a transitional
Yeah.
practice, which is intermittent fasting.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And he
Yes.
himself has testified to the fact that his energy has increased exponentially.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how much more if we continue, Nasik, the intermittent fasting and continue to refine it,
Mm-hmm.
consuming less and less, and then watching
Mm-hmm.
what we consume, you know, understanding, what is the proper, like watermelon. I would imagine that something like Abiff would produce much more water and gas that can be absorbed into the blood than matter that has to be what? Processed through the digestive system.
No question about it. No question about it.
And
No question about it.
and all such melons, like
Yes.
honeydew
Right.
and
Right.
and cantaloupe, and those things that seem
Right.
what melt in your mouth.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, I'd like to give a little testimony.
Very good.
Speaking of fasting, etc., I decided that I was going to go on a diet. I'm doing the intermittent fasting. I decided to have fruit and vegetable juice for a few days. Fruit and vegetable juice.
Very good.
And so, for one thing, I found myself a little bit stiff on the basketball court. And so I wanted to loosen up.
Right.
And so for the last few days, I've basically been on fruit and vegetable juice. For example, this morning I had a fruit smoothie. And I made some vegetable juice. I haven't drank any of the vegetable juice yet. And water, of course. And my energy is great. I'm participating in the Senior Olympics. And yesterday we had 3-on-3. Well, actually it was 2-on-2 basketball. I earned a gold medal.
Very good.
And I'm on my way now. I'm on the bus on my way to possibly do a 50-yard dash maybe. Well, there's a few events. I'm going to check and see which ones I want to do. There's a 1,600-meter walk. I missed the race walk. I wanted to do the race walk, but I missed that. But my testimony is that, and I've mentioned before, our friend who I haven't been able to reach, but as far as I know, he hasn't eaten in about 10 years.
Wow.
And he doesn't seem any the less aware for not eating at all. I've been on a number. I've been on a vegetable juice diet at least 17 days.
Very good.
Not this time, but at other times. And it's a very, very good thing. And of course, the Arnold Arnett, I believe it was Arnold Arnett who reported that there was a guy who had colon cancer and came to, if it wasn't Arnold Arnett, whoever it was, they were running a clinic The guy came to the clinic with colon cancer and went on a carrot juice diet for a year and cleared up the colon cancer. So there are plenty of examples. Of course, the autobiography of the yoga mentions 2 or 3 people who eat hardly anything that the yoga encountered. So I'm excited about us surviving at this point. And I'm just right now I'm a testimony because I participated in a basketball tournament over the weekend and started the Senior Olympics yesterday and doing it today. And I just had fruit and water, fruit and juice.
That's excellent.
That's my testimony. Feeling very strong.
Very good, though.
All right.
And I began, just to let everyone know, I've begun to move toward a profoundly to include rather fruit more, like melon, and almost exclusively. And of course, some live food as well. But I'm moving more exclusively toward melon. Like melon and that sort of and that's funny because melon and melanin, that's grammatically
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
grammatically
Mm-hmm.
tied in.
Absolutely.
I just heard that.
Well, we love watermelon or water and melon.
That's right.
Right. See, that ain't coincidence.
That's
That is
correct.
not coincidence.
That's correct. And more like dough, a liquid-based diet. Again, the transition and the goal, it seems almost impossible to us, at this point. But again, our perception, now see,
Mm-hmm.
has been altered.
Everything is tied to the perception. They say perception is 9/10 of reality.
That's correct. That's correct. And I've picked this book back up, Man's Higher Consciousness, and am starting to really study that again. And I do admit, if you look at my book, you'll see the notes in the book. I'll show you all later once I grab the book because we're going to be going into that, and I'll be showing you the notes. But I admit I couldn't conceptualize it at the time, and he addresses this in terms of addictions, our ability to become addicted to things that are poisonous to us and harmful to us. And all you have to do is go and observe and think about the people that are addicted to drugs. Those are poisons.
Yeah.
Those are
Mm-hmm.
poisons. But the body
Mm-hmm.
does what? It grows used to that. And it's addressed here, and I'll read it on page 11 if you're following along. People who crave poisons. People who crave poisons. A staff nurse in a certain hospital accepting drug addicts tells of her experience in caring for such cases. She said, "If I had ever been tempted to take drugs, I had discarded the idea quickly after working in a hospital ward for drug addicts for the past 2 years. There can be no torment of the damned that exceeds the agonizing pains that a drug addict goes through to conquer the habit." And if you've ever fasted, you know those withdrawal symptoms. and how
Mhm.
painful it is sometimes to even, you know, fast on the Shabbat, and how tempted you are, and what kind of excuses you start to make mentally to have a bite to eat.
Right.
All our patients entered the hospital ward voluntarily, but as they were not released until completely off the drug, it was a pitiful sight to watch them. The first day they were bolstered up by friends and relatives' good wishes, and had that's why a lot of people get together to fast on the, for moral support, and mustered up every bit of willpower that the drugs had left them. But the second or third day, all willpower had vanished, as the dosage of the drug was slowly reduced, and they became abject, tortured, screaming idiots, as their nerves begged for the drug. That is an example of the great power of the law of adaptation. The use of poisonous drugs that destroy the body by degrees and never do the body any good makes man an abject, tortured, screaming idiot, as the nerves begs for the drug. Every practice makes a place for itself in the vitality economy, and suddenly to cease any practice leaves a vacuum that is uncomfortable at least. And again, we felt that vacuum, that emptiness, when we've fasted on occasion. Every fact of life, as well as the law of vital adjustment, goes to prove that man is a product of evolution, but not in the sense that one species is evolved from the other. This is what we're talking about here, family. This evolution of or transcription of information and experience. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
That makes sense. That's really what ascension is.
That's correct.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's see. What does he say? Every fact of life, as well as the law of vital adjustment, goes to prove that man is a product of evolution, but not in the same sense that one species is evolved from another, nor in the sense that animals are grown out of vegetables or man from animals, except on a plan which is occurring under our daily observation. Cosmic laws never change. The passage of vegetal and animal material through the human body in the process of ingestion, digestion, and elimination is a fact of observation, but these substances never become part of the body, do not sustain it, and do not change its constitution. So, you have to, if we're looking to change our constitution from what? Physical to ethereal, from material to cosmic, it has to be by another process. We will not do it by refining a diet. It just does not make
Right.
it just does not make sense. It just does not
Mhm.
follow. It does not correspond. So I wanted to make that point today as we began this process of syncretizing the functions, energy functions of uh, uh, expressed rather in plant photosynthesis to the corresponding processes that occur in human photosynthesis. We've seen this figure before, Nasi, in the book
Uh-huh.
that I'm showing right. And I know you can't see it, But
Right.
family, you can see that the man's feet are spread and his knees are bent, indicating that he is bearing down his weight on the ground, saying that he is grounded into the earth, and that the electrical circuit of life is complete within him. Does everyone see that?
Mm-hmm.
All of the chakras are activated and in place, including the primary 7 chakras that we're all familiar with, and then the ones that are even beyond the crown chakra, doing what? Making this connection between heaven and earth. So then it is at this point, once we have illuminated Amaria, once we have completely illuminated, that we can do what? Make this connection between heaven and earth. We will then be in possession, family, of the keys of heaven. And whatsoever we bind on earth, because this energetic connection, this life circuit has been completed, whatever we bind on earth from a grounded position, are you all with me? Will be bound in
Mm-hmm.
heaven. And whatsoever we loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. So we will have taken the position then of the magician, who can call forth things out of the cosmic realm, out of the etheric realm, and bring them into manifestation in the earth. Is everyone with me?
Okay.
So,
Okay.
as we talked about on previous classes and even yesterday, this divine feminine being subjugated and sublimated and demoted, and the divine masculine being promoted and elevated within this vertical matrix, that everything that would be created would what? Reflect this imbalance. This is why every institution that we create is hierarchical.
Yes.
It has leaders and a follower, and all of those different positions, graded positions in between, down to the ones that are at the bottom. But what we are witnessing and what we are participating in, just by reason of these classes that we're doing, and by reason of our change, these things that were out of balance are coming back, correcting themselves, and aligning into an organic relationship. And as we align ourselves with that, in other words, balancing the masculine, and again, the masculine and feminine energies, and bringing them back into this original organic relationship, we began to benefit from the power of that energetic arrangement. And we have equipped ourselves, or are equipping ourselves to produce whatever it is that we want to produce, to bind from earth and then bind in heaven, to loose from earth, from a grounded position, and loose in heaven. This is the role of the magician. The role of the magician. And we're going to have to do some magic, that is, some things that are outside of the natural, beyond the natural, what we call supernatural, correct?
Okay.
If we're going to accomplish this dynamic activation of our bodies, this dynamic illumination, as Akamaria pointed out. So we're at this point, family. Bear with me, I got to get the right document. Hard to keep up with these things in this way. There it is. So we got to get outside of this, or on top of this hierarchical arrangement. And this is why you see the pyramid often without the top capstone, but with the eye on top of it, replacing that. That is epigenetics. That is control. That is indicating what? Control above the gene. Control above the gene. Arrange this a little bit better. Bear with me. I'm trying to find. Here we go. So we want to take a look at this aspect, or the reality that is occurring right now as this correction process takes place. So yesterday we gave scriptural evidence of this the contemporaneous rather, or correlative effects of now the elevation and promotion of the divine feminine in the last days. And we pointed out two key scripture passages that express, in the first one, the elevation of the divine masculine in terms of the allegorical story of Joseph and his brothers. And he, Joseph, dreamed yet another dream and told it to his brethren and said, "Behold, I have dreamed a dream more, and behold, the sun, the moon, and the 11 stars made obeisance to me." And note that it's only 11 stars, not 12. And he told it to his father. You know, that means something is incomplete, family. That 11 indicates that something is incomplete. And he told it to his father and to his brethren, and his father rebuked him and said to him, "What is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee, to the earth?" And his brothers envied him. Listen, they were jealous, right? but his
Mm-hmm.
father observed the same. See, this jealousy goes back to this saying, for I am a jealous God that what? Revisits the inequity of the fathers on the children to the third and fourth generation, right? This idea of envy, jealousy. It's an energetic principle. But his father observed the same. Then Revelations symbolizes this in the 12th chapter of Revelation. It symbolizes the return of the divine feminine to the correct organic position. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun. A woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, outside of the control of the simulated matrix, because we know just from a physiological standpoint and just from a physical standpoint, how the moon has control over what? The woman's cycle, right?
Right.
Within the simulated matrix. And we see now that the woman on top of that, epigenetics, she's in control.
Right.
And upon her head a crown of all 12 stars. All 12 stars. So we know that this is referring to the elevation and the resurrection of the divine feminine, putting it back in its proper primary relationship. And again, this occurs, family, at the end of the book. We are right at the end of this story and ready to enter into another chapter, which is a fifth dimensional reality. And like we said, it's going to require the activation of all 12 strands of DNA in order so that we can be fully illuminated. Look, fully grounded, fully illuminated, fully charged. And we got to pay attention now to consumption. We have to define our existence. If you want to remain within the solar matrix, keep eating, keep consuming. If you want to ascend outside, consume less and less and less and less. That is the process from a physical standpoint, Nasi, of ascension. Of ascension.
That's great. That's absolutely correct.
So
yeah. Yes.
we're going to bring this to a close. We've covered a lot of information. It's a lot of information that I believe is worth meditating on. I promise you, we're going to get to uh, decoding this this term magician and understand exactly what we need to do to not only reach that balance, and we're beginning to reach it, family, just by understanding that it was out of balance. The majority of the people that that look at this relationship within the solar matrix, hey, go out and get as much sun, it can produces vitamin D, and hey, become a vegan, and eat, you could eat as many vegetables as this aspect of consumption. They don't even understand that that the whole relationship is out of balance, and that needs to be what? Corrected. This is part of the universal corrective force, the universal corrective consciousness that is occurring at this particular point. And again, we'll end right here and I'll open it up for questions and comments.